So where do you want to start?
I don't know. I got nothing.
All right. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys next week.
I don't know. How about I don't know. I don't know. My brain's pretty empty.
Well, let's just go in order.
Okay.
Um, uh, so we got in last Sunday. We did the podcast. Fired that one out. The very next day, Monday, was our very first inside track, Performance Highs inside track
Yeah.
meeting, which is, I can't remember if we've talked about it on the podcast, but it's going to be a monthly thing where we're going to bring in industry professionals and experts and have them give an inside look into how whatever their various aspect of the music industry works. This week it was Tony Mason, who is a talent buyer um, for, I mean, he's worked for almost every club
I
in the
mean,
Denver metro.
yeah, a lot of the ones you know of.
The ones you
Yeah.
know of,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be fair. And he does. It's really cool because he really does focus on the original music and the
Yeah.
underground stuff. And of course, he books a lot of touring acts and all this stuff. A talent buyer is someone who works on the clubs side of things and books shows for, right?
Hmm.
A talent agent or a booking agent would be someone who goes out and works on behalf of the band and tries to contact venues. Tony's on the other side of that. He's the one actually booking the shows for the venue. So it's really fascinating for everybody there, I think, to get his lowdown on how that side of
Yeah.
the industry works and what they care about and what they don't care about and how they make their decisions and all of those things.
Yeah. It was full of advice and people asked a lot of good questions and we
Hmm.
had we had a full room of people plus we had 3 people attending online. So we really proved out the technology. It worked really well.
It worked great, and the Zoom people were able to be involved, and I think that's really going to translate later because I already have some clients that aren't in Denver who are interested in doing
Excellent.
some of these and some of the classes where we're also going to do the Zoom thing. But anyway, I thought the Tony thing went great. I
Hmm.
sort of played host a bit,
Yeah.
and
Thanks for doing that, by the way. I know I kind of sprung that on you.
yeah, no, it was fine. Yeah, I think it helped. I think it's a good format because when I started being more conversational with him, I think it
Hmm.
sort of made it easier for him to like talk about stuff
Yeah.
and be a little more open. It turned into, it just turned into a little more of a conversation and
Yeah. And that's what we're
having
going for.
somebody there to be like, yeah, oh yeah, good point, good point. But
Yeah.
like
What about this? And
that's
yeah.
so much easier than talking in a vacuum.
Oh, yeah.
When you're talking and you don't have any feedback from people, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But just having someone go, oh yeah, huh, like really
Yeah. Yeah.
smooths everything
Yeah,
over.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We're gonna have Eric Golden for the next one, and then probably Vincent Di Pasquale for no or Penn Beldock for November, and then the other one for December. So and then actually here's the exciting thing. The Colorado Music Industry Alliance, which is a startup organization that I am somehow on the board of. I don't think I'm really contributing anything, but I've been attending the meetings. They are interested in, well, one of the other board members is interested in collaborating to bring in, like, to basically increase the reach of the industry
Oh wow.
insiders that
Yeah.
we can access. Because now we have proven the framework, we have the space and we have the technology
Right.
and we have like the framework that we're doing this in, and we have a little bit of an audience. And he's got reach into industry insiders that we don't have reach to. Obviously, everybody's got different contacts. So we're gonna talk this week about that. So
That sounds amazing.
yeah.
I think that was always some of in the background of what we were talking about is if we prove the concept
Mm-hmm.
with people that are more in our orbit, we
Mm-hmm.
can start getting people who are not in our orbit
Exactly.
to sit down with us for an hour or two.
Yeah.
And again, just talk about that insider thing, people that are in the industry and making money. I think the Eric thing's going to be fascinating because, it's the plan is to talk about how he went from doing performance high showcases and open mics and all of those things and he's incredibly diligent with all that, but how he went from that to doing 250 gigs a year and having gigging be a large part of his living for a year.
Yeah.
That journey is going to be, it's going to be great to kind of dissect where he had trouble and where he had successes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be really
Yeah.
fun. Sorry, kind of slipped into host mode there. Anyway, let's go. Gosh, so that was Monday.
Then I taught Tuesday, and then I left Wednesday. So we just got back from California, and I flew right back to
Flew
California.
right back to California on Wednesday.
I flew to San Diego and then drove right up to LA to see Sofia Isella at the Echo Room in Los Angeles. That's like in Hollywood area, more or less.
Yeah, right. She's a newish artist, and she has opened for Taylor Swift.
She just recently opened for Taylor Swift. So the videos from that show on her Instagram are like, of course, she's playing to an enormous,
crazy
stadium-sized audience.
And you saw her in like 200 cap venues.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I discovered her maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I have been super into her music.
Yeah.
And her, like, it's dark and edgy and young, and she has some real stuff to say. Like, she doesn't shy away from some really relevant and difficult topics, and I love that about her.
I think both a little bit her music, but then a little bit in the way she is willing to attack sensitive topics. Very 9 Inch Nails.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound just like, it's not as electronic and as an industrial,
but it is dark and somewhat electronic.
But it's dark and it's electronic, and some of the grooves are very like 9 Inch Nails-y kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like trap beats going on. Some heavy dark synths.
And so that was amazing that you got to see her in those tiny venues.
I saw Spotify told me that she was touring, and I checked to see if she was coming to Colorado, and she wasn't. But I was like, oh, but she's doing 5 dates in California. And one of them's in San Diego. So I immediately bought a ticket for San Diego. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I got on my flight. And then I was like, I want to see her in LA too. And so I just rented a car also, everything was super cheap. So yeah, these rooms I saw her in, the Echo Room, I sent you some pictures. It was like maybe Lost Lake times 2.
Right.
Pretty small. And then in San Diego, it was at the House of Blues, but it was the Voodoo Room of the House of Blues.
Oh, so not the main room.
It was not the main room. So I went to the House of Blues.
Okay.
There was a line around the block for somebody.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, at least she's doing well in San Diego. I was like, of course. I was like, I got this little, special thing in Los Angeles. But then I walked up and I was like, is this the line for Sofia Isella? And they're like, oh, no, she's just right here. It was like this room just right off the street. And then that was even smaller. That was probably 150 standing room.
Yeah. So when you say a number and then cap, that's for capacity. So a 200 cap room is a 200 capacity room. Sorry, little insider jargon. And
here's how not well known she is, apparently. So I went to that LA room and I sat on a little bench in the back next to the sound guy because it wasn't very far back. And this woman sat next to me and struck up a conversation. She's like, so how do you know Sofia? And I was like, I don't know her. I mean, I know her from Instagram. And she's like, oh, yeah, she's friends with my daughter. They went to preschool together.
Yeah, so she was having like...
she was like doing the wedding
family and friends.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you must like maybe be her teacher or something.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Because she's 19. She's played violin since she was 3. She plays guitar and piano. She songwrites. She knows Billie Eilish because they were both homeschooled in the same general area.
Oh, that's right. They apparently grew up kind of in the same neighborhood of Hollywood.
Yeah. So yeah, I had this nice conversation with a friend of Sofia Isella's mom.
Yeah.
And then when I went to San Diego and I was in that room, I wanted to get way up front on that one because, well, first of all, the room was a bit longer. Okay. It was like a long, narrow room. Yeah. And also, I regretted sitting in the back at that other show. I don't like being in smushy crowds. Right. I just really hate it. So I'm fine with hanging out in the back if it's not too far. But I was like, no, I'm here to see this phenomenal person play. And so I stood Like when I walked in, there were only like 20 people in the room, but there were like 5 of them taking up like the front row.
course.
I mean, they
Yeah,
were there
yeah,
early.
yeah.
So I got second row and I stood there for the entire 3 hours or whatever. Like first of all, I didn't know, but I got there an hour early. That show didn't start at 7. That show started at 8.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I stood there for an hour and then there was the opener and then she played. And to my left was a mom chaperoning her 2 daughters who were right in front of her, and to my right was a mom who was chaperoning her 2 daughters, which were right next to her.
I have to compliment you though. Not even compliment necessarily, but just point out like I admire it so much that you still have that capacity to be a fan of things
Yeah,
and to be a fan of new things,
yeah,
not just the stuff that was big deal to you when you were in high school or
yeah,
college, but like you found a new thing that you love and you're
yeah,
like, I absolutely have to go get front row for this
yeah,
because I love it.
yeah.
And the capacity to still love music at that
Uh huh.
level
Uh huh.
is like, not many people keep that.
Yeah. And I got to meet her,
You did get to
and
meet
she
her.
gave me a bracelet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't show it to you. It was in my bag, but yeah, she had a bunch of them, but little handmade bracelets.
That's, I
Yeah.
mean, the picture of you guys, it's like, I for a second was like, wait, which one of these people is famous? Like, it's pretty funny. Like, yeah.
Is
Um,
that what does that say about her or about me?
I don't know. It's just like you're striking and you have
Uh,
like attitude and stuff, and had attitude too, and you were just kind of like, oh, wow, she's the
yeah.
19-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, and the room, especially in San Diego, was full of 19-year-olds. Well, some of them must have been 21 because I could see the color of their wristbands.
Mm,
But it was all young women.
right.
And you can tell at the end of every song, and I videotaped the entire show. The end of every song, it is this like unison piercing scream
What?
that lasts about 5 seconds and
Yeah.
then dies to nothing. So it was like an ear piercing full room scream from a bunch of young women that lasts as long as they can hold their breath. And then the room goes silent. They're like, where's the next song?
There's no applause,
No, it was just screaming.
just screaming, and then yeah. But like that's so great. I mean, we talk about all the time, like it's sort of why we gig because as educators and stuff, it's not why we gig, but part of why you gig is the same reason they make college professors publish papers.
Yeah.
Like you have to stay
gotta be in
current.
it.
You
Yeah.
have to be in it. You have to be doing it. You can't really like get your degree in 1974 and then just go, I'm not going to look at another new thing ever again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
you have to be kind of contributing to the conversation and making sure you can understand the conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's just part of it.
Yeah.
And, but again, that you can be as much of a fan as you
I'm
are.
not sure I've ever been as much of a fan. I mean, part of it is the sense of like discovering a treasure because not everybody knows about her, and I got to see her in these small rooms.
That means a lot to people. Yeah, for sure.
I've never really understood that before,
Right.
but it made me want to go to more small shows, to be honest. At least well-researched small shows. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah, you could see a bad
local
show
shows
if
that,
you yeah, yeah.
But she's polished. She has worked out the show. I have a little quibble with the set list, which is that she did her 3 piano songs, which are not tracked, or at least minimally tracked, about 15 minutes into the show. So
Yeah.
the dip was really early, but maybe that was planned. Everything else was really, really polished. I mean, her performance. She's got unique ways to move.
Yes.
That look very natural for her, but I don't think they would look natural on anyone else.
Right.
She's got a unique way to dress,
Yeah.
which takes advantage of her extremely lithe figure. Like she's got long, long limbs, and she's really skinny.
Pretty
And
tall,
Uh,
relatively.
little taller, well, a little taller than me. She's probably average
okay,
height.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in that picture, I think she's not too much taller than
Yeah.
me. So she's got a unique look, sound, performance, message, moves, everything. She can play multiple instruments, and she did at the show. She also had a dedicated sound engineer just for her who, the whole show was tracked. It was just her. There was
Right,
no other
yeah.
musician on stage. And it was still really capturing and engaging even that way. But one of the things that they worked out was between songs there wasn't just silence. There
Oh,
was
right.
like there was interstitial music. So
Right.
there was a rumble, or there was a chord, or there was a pattern, or there was something
Kind of
happening.
gluing all the songs
Yeah,
together. Yeah.
yeah. So that was really well planned. And I thought that even so in LA there was great production. There was fog and lights, and it was
Right.
really
Those
synced with
lights were,
her.
yeah.
And then in San Diego, it was a bare stage with no colored lights, no fog. It was like the entire show was on her shoulders, and it was just as engaging. It was amazing.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always been my theory that we were talking about it the other night. Like, I think that that's, if you can find it, that's the best thing for a performer is to find those stage moves and stuff that are, they just feel good to you to do because everybody's body's a little different and
Yeah.
everybody's insides are a little different, and different moves are gonna, and like if you can find things that are authentic and just cool and they're the things you would do dancing in front of a mirror when
Hmm.
you knew no one was watching, that stuff's always going to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
The one quibble I would make about her physical stage performance is that she has a habit of lying on the floor,
right.
which is fine if you have cameras and like side fills or what are those video side wall things,
Jumbotrons.
jumbotrons. Yeah, it's fine
Yeah.
if you have jumbotrons and you get a camera that can show you what's going on. But when I was in the back of the LA room, the Echo room, and
Right.
she would play guitar lying on her back on the floor, well, most of the audience can't see that.
Right.
So
That is an issue.
don't love that.
Yeah, although going back and forth between different sized stages could be a challenge.
Yeah.
But you said the opener was pretty good too.
Yes, I wanted to talk about him because I was impressed not only with his songwriting, his performance, and his playing, but his hustle.
Yeah, you
His
mentioned.
hustle. Okay, so the guy's name is Brendan Abernathy. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, originally. Lives in LA now. Likes to tour to California. Sorry, likes to tour to Colorado because he likes to ski. So I walked in near the end of his set in LA. Thought he was great. He's a looper. I would characterize him as an Ed Sheeran, Louis Capaldi type guy. Has a bit of a like an accent, sort of like he sounds a little not when he talks in person, but like the way he sings. You know how some people sing with an accent. He's got a
Oh,
little bit of like a UK or Irish or Scottish something accent.
okay,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what made me think of Louis Capaldi or Ed Sheeran. Anyway, really talented looping, great crowd work. Like he could get the crowd really moving. I thought he did well with the LA crowd, and then I talked to him afterward because he walked up to me to talk. And he said it was a tough crowd. And I was like, really? That was a tough crowd? He said, yeah, usually I can really get them going a lot more. And he did in San Diego.
Wow.
So the hustle, I was impressed that, I was just kind of standing around in the venue after I had stood in line to meet Sophia and then met her. And then I just didn't want to walk out quite yet. And he walked up to me and was like, hey, what's your name? I saw you having fun at the, my part of the show. I just wanted to say hi. And I was like, wow, okay. So we talked a little bit. He asked my name. He, gave me a little flyer. He had a friend of his who was following him around take a Polaroid of us and give it to me.
Yeah.
So little memento there. We just talked a bit, just making conversation. And then he remembered my name when he saw me the next night in San Diego. He's like, hey, Adrienne. And I was like, whoa, dude, you're meeting everybody and you're remembering everybody's names.
That's the pro stuff.
Yeah, that's what you used to do.
That's what I used to do. That's a lot of how we built all of what yeah. I mean, it's not just playing the show.
Yeah.
It's another thing I say all the time. I mean, the show's over.
When the last person leaves.
Well, and you sort of need to go out and talk to them.
Yeah.
And like, that's the real work.
Yeah.
That's how you make the super fans.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yeah.
Although, man, No Address way back when, it's starting to be way back when. I mean, I've told you the amount of hustle we would do. I got reminded of it from Tony Mason, the booking agent. We started talking about Inside Track, and he was talking about his biggest thing was when his biggest thing he didn't like was when bands didn't promote their shows. Like, hey, maybe attendance wasn't good, but you clearly tried. I'm going to keep you in mind. I'm going to give you another shot. But I booked you, and then you just showed up and did the show, and I didn't see anything. And at least early on, at some point, we were kind of doing well enough that we didn't do it as much until we were on the road. But like when we were starting out, we would burn CDs at home, back when it took like 5 minutes to burn a CD.
Oh my gosh.
And we would give a free CD with 3 songs on it to anyone and everyone. You go through a drive-in, they get a CD. You walk in a store to buy a 6-pack of beer, they get a CD.
You buy gas, you're telling me?
You buy gas. A cop pulls you over. I can't remember who did this. Somebody in No Address got pulled over by a police officer just for like speeding or some traffic thing and gave the police officer.
That's hustle.
We gave out thousands. Every time I had an extra $20-$50, I would go to Circuit City or Best Buy and I would buy a bunch of blank CDs and I would just sit around all night like burning these CDs and putting the label on them and handing them out. And we would go to other people's shows, and we had the little quarter flyers, like the quarter-page flyers, and we would just, like, work, like, hey, we're here next Saturday, like,
Yeah.
And, I mean, it eventually worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually it got to a point where we weren't doing that all the time, again, until we were touring. But certainly when we were touring, I was doing exactly what Brendan Abernathy was doing, which was... Man, I'd play the show, and then I would spend the entire time out in the room hanging out with people and talking to people.
Yeah.
Handing them stickers, all that stuff. That's how you do it. That's the
work.
That's the job.
Man.
Yeah. Until you are doing stadiums, and then, maybe you do less of that.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I sure hope that both Sophia and Brendan get the success they both deserve, because they're talented and they're working hard to make it work.
Yeah.
Sophia, one of the things she said during her show was, this is her first headlining show in like 3 or 4 years, I think. And she said, it's so great to see you guys all here, because the last time I did a headlining show, everybody in attendance was somebody I individually stalked or invited. She's like, at the time I had about 3,000 Instagram followers, and I went to every single account. And I tried to determine from their photos and their bio whether they might be in an area where I was having a show. And I would DM them. It is so nice to see you guys here just because you want to be here.
That is the online version of that.
Yeah.
And it's... Yeah. Well, so anyway, that was, you went to California and you came home for 2 days, and then you went right back to California for 2 days, and then you came right back home.
Yep. And
got right back to work.
Yeah, got right back to work. Had a Diamond gig. Was it last night? Yes, it was last night.
Diamond Empire gig last night.
It went fine, great. I mean, it went great from the client's perspective. The crowd was dancing and jumping around so hard that the stage was bouncing. The stage, like, they aren't connected to the stage.
Right.
They were making the floor bounce.
Right.
We were on the second floor, and I was like, is this safe? All the musicians were looking at each other like, it felt like someone jumping on the stage itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Anyway, so crowd was great. I had a lot of trouble hearing myself, like a lot of trouble. I think I'm going to just start running my own in-ears direct from the amp.
I think you may need to. And
yeah, it wasn't that I was too loud or not loud enough. I think my volume was literally fine.
Well, you just said there was like just a ton of low end on the stage.
There's a ton of low end in the room in general.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me. It was actually both of the lead singers asked me at different times to turn up.
Yeah. I mean, that is... Yeah, it can be... Well, I mean, I personally... It's a big pet peeve of mine. I think that maybe not most, but an awful lot of musicians just play with the sounds they've dialed in on their amps and stuff just has way too much low end in it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're going to be in a boomy room, which you were saying, that was the other thing. It's just a boomy
it's a
room.
Ballroom, so.
Yeah, it's a ballroom. So, and you need to dial back because the room is adding back a lot of those lows. I mean, we've even, there was that Cody show we did at Buffalo Rose, and it was just like atrocious. And then you just rolled off all your low end.
And then it was nice and
then
clear.
It was like, oh, that's what it was. And it wasn't like you were too loud. It was just like that stage, the space, the little cave that stage is in.
Yeah. I tried rolling off some lows, and it just resulted in me not being able to hear myself at all.
Yeah. I mean, well, if it's a war of fighting over real estate for low end.
Yeah, if I back out of that,
if you back out of it, then you're going to lose. Yeah. That's so funny. I mean, oh God, and we skipped forward in the week, but Thursday I was out with
Oh yeah.
the Half Sin guys, and I do not know what was going on, but the bass volume on stage was ungodly. It was so unbelievably loud. The stage volume of everything and everybody was like, I don't think I've been on a stage with that much stage volume in a long time. And I could not hear us. I could barely sort of suss out my own thing, but I didn't want to turn up because then I'm just adding
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah.
but like, it was the amp was cranked and then there was a ton in the monitors. And from where I was standing right next to the drum set, and the bass was by far the loudest thing on stage. And it was something else. I mean, I guess we've had a week of like, it was just like, man, it's hard to concentrate when you're just like
Yeah.
something else is just blasting you.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
don't, I mean, I'm in a different position. Guitar is very different than bass. And I've said this a million times. I can be a lot more slidey. It's a lot of times not that important that I can hear myself well because I basically know I'm playing the right thing, and to the audience, whatever. But the bass is such a foundation instrument that like you really need to know that you're on the right note,
Yeah.
you know. And guitar does too, but I have a little more leeway because I'm not being like the
Hmm.
foundational like everyone in the room isn't going to go like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But like you said, it was a good gig. It was good dues paying. It was good,
Yeah. Good dues paying. Oh, and
and you had to
and
read charts again.
exactly. So I love watching progress. Like I love celebrating every
Yeah,
little step. I'm like, woohoo, yay me,
yeah,
like over and over again. So I mentioned probably last week that I had to read charts on the fly for the mannequin rehearsal,
uh huh.
which was the first time I'd ever had to do that. Like read charts with a group playing music one time, no pre prep or anything. So I got that experience out of the way just in time because I got to the Deb gig and I had noticed that we needed to play a half hour of instrumental jazz for dinner
Pretty normal for a
or
wedding.
cocktail, whatever, before
Yeah,
dinner.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, pretty normal. But it was just like random instrumental jazz. I was like, I'm not really a jazz player, nor am I really a reader. Whew, we'll see what's gonna happen here. So I came armed with a list of maybe 20 jazzish or light songs that I have played at some point. That
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Kind of being
So
like,
like Moondance.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
a jazz tune, but it
but you can
fills
jazz it
fills the
up.
same role.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I reviewed that one. And then I also loaded up the most recent set of jazz charts from Iriel Perot's forums. So there's
Right.
a 1,500 song playlist of jazz standards that you can just like one click and you can download the whole thing into your iPad. So I
Hmm.
did that. Thank goodness because we played like 3 songs out of that I'd never played before.
Right.
So and I did
Yeah.
okay enough. Yeah, I mean I didn't like make a bunch of mistakes all over it. I just played it safe.
Yeah. I mean, luckily with jazz, the more wrong notes, the better.
Well,
You're just gonna sound like a smarter player. No, man. Chord was an A13. I was playing A sharp. I'm very
yeah,
doing some voice leading.
yeah,
Voice leading.
on the part of the bass,
Yeah.
confusing everyone.
Yeah, well that's so great, and it's so great. Well, you mentioned getting to today. You mentioned that your church gig that you did today at Journey felt so much less
Oh my gosh.
because you've had so many harder gigs.
Yeah, I'm no longer nervous for those at all.
Yeah, because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have to sight read jazz.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Or play 30 solid minutes of Earth, Wind, and Fire Motown back to back,
right, yeah,
with that are in non-standard formats and some different keys. This was just like, oh, it's another 4 chord, one of 3 chord progressions in the key of G, C, or D,
right.
you know. But the challenge I had this morning was that I don't know if it was a cable, probably was a cable, but midway through the second service, my bass sound started going in and out. It would be there for a couple notes, it would be gone. I would be like, I'd be like, am I? I mean, the monitoring is not great to begin with. I think the monitors just don't carry bass very well. So I
It's
never can hear
usually,
myself
yeah.
great there, but I'd be like, I know I hit a note just now, and I do not hear it in the room, and I don't hear it in my ears. And then by the last song of that set, there was no bass from me whatsoever. So we fixed it between services. You know, probably was a cable. Who knows? But
Yeah,
you know,
sometimes you don't get to know. You
yeah.
just fix it.
But you know, they have everything tracked anyway, so the tech just like left the bass in the track once we knew there was an issue. And I pretended to play, hoping maybe some of the notes would come out.
Yeah, that's rough. That's hard to do. That is very hard to like stay
What
in it.
to fake? Oh well, I just since it had been going in and out, I still was on my toes because I thought it could easily come back
Come
in.
back in.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. Well, and I meant more, it's hard for that not to just throw you
Oh,
in a way
gotcha.
that you kind of mentally can't come back from
Oh,
super
yeah.
easily. Because you just are like, my stuff
Yeah.
might not work. And
Yeah.
is the next note I'm going to hit, is that the one where it doesn't,
Yeah.
like, it breaks again or whatever?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, nothing was broken. It was just a standard sound thing. I mean, we had the same thing, this week on the Thursday gig where it's like, you can't figure out for the life of you why this monitor won't work, and then it turns out it's just a bad cable.
Yeah.
Happens.
Yeah.
So, but it sounded like that was an okay morning. And then,
Hmm.
I was with Cody today. Cody does a yearly show for both his Patreon followers and then Cody Qualls, patreon.com. And then his Patreon followers, he has a little show like in his backyard at his house. And it's usually very intimate, maybe 15, 20 people. And then he does a public show at the park near his house that is just me and Cody, usually acoustic guitar and
Hmm.
vocal. And when we do the thing in the backyard, we're not even amplified at all. It's just like a
Oh.
literal, like,
Oh, wow.
you're just sitting around. Um, and then we got sort of rained out. We had a weird September. It's weird for it to rain like that, but we were just about to start, and we were like 10 minutes from starting, and Cody was like, "We better go. I think it's gonna rain." And we got maybe 15 minutes in, and sure enough, it did rain.
Oh.
And so we went back to his house and finished up the show with a couple of the people who weren't scared off by the rain. So it was, it's fun doing those things. It's really, we've talked about this. It's really hard when someone is calling songs
Yeah.
because there's a set list, and Cody gave me a set list, and then as soon as he gets going, that's out the window. Just whatever is feeling emotionally flowing in
Yeah.
the moment. And so he'll be like, why don't we do this? And you're like, oh no, oh no, oh
My
no.
mind was on that.
Yeah, my mind
Yeah.
was like, and yeah, I gotta like, luckily everybody in Cody's kind of orbit, to use that word a bunch of times this. Uh, anyway, all of his folks are so fun to be around. And, talk about, here's a weird thing.
Hmm.
Total change of subject.
Okay.
I have a client named Lena,
Mm-hmm.
Lina.
Mm-hmm.
I have another client currently named Neela, Nila. What are the sheer
Oh,
odds?
how about this? Last night's band had 3 Jakes in it, and the groom's name was Jake.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just what are the odds? So speaking of Neela, she's a young lady who is from Persia, Iran. And she's kind of an Adele type singer, songwriter, piano player. Um, well, she doesn't actually play piano, but she sort of wrote the song by just kind of like figuring out like block chords and stuff. And Saturday, I was in the studio all day with Caitlin Klickman and then Neela. And it was really interesting because I don't really play piano, and things we were trying to work over like a track that she had, and eventually I just had to figure out how to play and like sing it with her, and I also don't sing, so it was me trying to play things on the piano and then singing stuff at her, and we finally put the song together, but it was quite the exercise in
Mm.
stuff I don't do that often. Um, but it was kind of fun to do something new.
Growth.
Growth. There you go.
Yay.
Theme of the pod. Let's talk about next week. Let's get out of this thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna see Mitski at Fiddler's Green. I can't remember if you're going. Do you remember if
I don't know
invited
that
you?
I've decided yet.
Well, do you know if I got you a ticket?
You did not, but I might get my own ticket.
Oh, okay.
Because it's open. So,
Oh, yeah.
You know
okay.
what I mean?
Right, yeah.
The reason I want to go is because Ethel Cain is opening.
Oh.
And when you originally decided to go to that show, Ethel Cain was not the opening artist.
Okay.
And then whoever was the opening artist, for whatever reason, Ethel Cain got added to the show.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I might want to go to see Ethel Cain.
Cool.
Which I love Mitski, but the 1-2 of Ethel Cain and Mitski's, like, that's a little more irresistible. So
Cool.
We'll see. Also, Pop Choir.
Pop Choir starts tomorrow. In fact, I need to get off this and finish arranging a song.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Boy, it seemed like, and I might be wrong because I'm still learning the new system, seemed like pretty strong sign up.
Yeah. 13 people.
Yeah, wow.
That's
great.
what happens when you make it free, I suppose.
I guess so. Also, we've always had so much more commitment in these fall semesters.
True.
You know, like that just seems to be like people are.
Yeah. Yeah. If we keep doing it, it's going to be fall.
Yeah.
Just once a year.
It just seems like that's when people are kind of have the headspace for a project.
Yeah, they're ready to come back indoors.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. And then Petty Nicks.
Yeah, we are headed to Grand Junction for the Colterra Wine Festival, which we are playing. I think we're headlining on Friday and Sunday.
Right.
So we get to just hang out on the Western Slope for a whole day. Do
yeah,
whatever.
so we'll have to figure out something to go do, or not. Maybe we'll just.
I need to get some
out.
exercise. I am so out of shape.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Aside from water skiing, I'm hardly doing anything.
I've been hesitant to say anything, but yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So, luckily you can edit podcasts because I'll just snip that right out. Unfortunately, you cannot edit your relationships.
You can't unsay that to me.
No, sure can't. Well, we are sponsored this week, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And thank you guys for hanging out and listening once again, and we will see you next week.
Bye.